Adana arrived at her cousin's wedding in Kumasi with a small smile, hoping the day would feel joyful, but the moment she walked into the hall, she knew she was on her own. Every table was filled with couples laughing, taking pictures, showing off their outfits. Meanwhile, she stood there clutching her purse, wishing she didn't look so out of place. Her relatives barely noticed her. The few who did just nodded politely before turning back to their conversations. One aunt whispered loudly enough for Adana to hear, "She's such a sweet girl, just too ordinary. No wonder she's still single." The words stung, but Adana pretended she didn't hear them. She didn't want anyone to see how much it hurt. She found an empty seat at the far corner, the table no one cared to fill. From there she watched the dance floor, the bright lights, the happy faces. She tried to smile when people passed by, but no one stopped to talk. It felt like she wasn't even part of the celebration, just a quiet shadow in the background. As the music played and the guests cheered for the couple, Adana kept her hands on her lap, breathing slowly, trying not to feel embarrassed. She told herself it was just one evening, just a wedding, but deep down she felt that familiar ache, the fear that maybe everyone was right, maybe she really was invisible. Yet even in that lonely moment, she had no idea her night was about to change in a way she never expected. The music was still playing softly when the atmosphere in the hall suddenly shifted. Conversations stopped. Forks paused midair. People started turning their heads toward the entrance like a quiet wave moving through the room. Adana frowned, wondering what was happening, until she heard someone whisper, "He's here." Tavon Kalechi. Even from the far corner, she could feel the tension rise. Tavon Kalechi, the billionaire CEO of Agridyne Holdings, the man people only saw on TV or in business magazines, stepped into the hall. He walked with the kind of calm confidence that made everyone stand a little straighter. Tall, sharp suit, expression unreadable. He didn't need to say a word. His presence alone changed the whole room. The bride's family practically ran toward him. They stretched their smiles wide, shaking his hand, pulling out chairs, offering him drinks before he even asked. The groom proudly introduced him to every guest in that circle, calling him "my mentor" with so much pride it almost echoed. Everyone wanted to be close to him. Everyone wanted to be noticed by him. Except Adana, because no one even thought to glance her way. She watched from her lonely corner as people pushed forward, trying to get just a little bit of Tavon's attention. Her relatives, who hadn't spoken to her since she arrived, were now laughing loudly and acting like royalty in front of him. Their behavior almost made her smile. The desperation was obvious, almost funny, but there was still a small pinch in her chest. She wished people showed half this energy when she walked into a room. For a moment, she forgot her own sadness. She just observed him, the way he greeted people politely but not warmly, the way his eyes scanned the hall like he was searching for something specific. There was a seriousness about him, something heavy sitting behind his calm face. Meanwhile, Adana remained invisible. No one asked if she could see. No one tried to pull her closer. She was still the girl at the forgotten table, watching everyone else shine. But she didn't know that in a few seconds, the same man everyone else was fighting to impress would be walking straight toward her. Adana sat quietly, pretending to focus on her drink, when she felt something shift again in the room. This time, it wasn't the excitement of his arrival. It was confusion. Tavon Kalechi, the billionaire everyone was desperate to impress, was no longer smiling politely at the crowd. Instead, he was scanning the hall slowly, his eyes sharp, searching, almost analyzing. She watched him from afar, thinking he was probably looking for another important guest or maybe the groom. Everyone around him kept talking, trying to keep his attention, but he wasn't listening to any of them. His gaze kept moving, left, right, across the tables, until suddenly, it landed right on her. Adana froze. There was no way he was looking at her. She glanced behind her, just to check if someone else was standing there. No one. The corner was empty. Before she could even make sense of it, Tavon began walking in her direction. Not slowly, not hesitantly, with purpose, like he already knew exactly where he wanted to go. People turned as he passed, confused and curious. Some even followed him with their eyes, trying to figure out who he was approaching. Adana's heart started racing. No, 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 This can't be happening. She tried to fix her hair, wipe her fingers on her napkin, anything to look less awkward. But he was already there. Tavon stopped at her lonely table, the one no one else wanted. For a moment, he just looked at her, his expression calm but intense. Adana felt as if the whole hall was suddenly too quiet. Then he leaned slightly, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Stay close to me tonight," he whispered. "I need someone I can trust." Her breath caught in her throat. Trust. A billionaire CEO needed her. She felt her pulse thudding in her ears. Me," she managed to whisper back, barely audible. He nodded once, firm and steady, like he had already made up his mind. Everything inside her twisted. Shock, confusion, fear, curiosity, all fighting for space. Nothing about this moment made sense. She had been invisible all night. People didn't even look at her long enough to say hello. And now this man, the center of the room, the person everyone admired, was standing beside her like she mattered. She didn't understand why he chose her. She didn't know what he wanted. But one thing was clear. Her night was no longer ordinary. It had just changed in the most unbelievable way. Adana could barely breathe as Tavon pulled out the chair beside her and sat down like they were old friends. People in the hall kept glancing their way, whispering, trying to understand what was happening. She wished she could understand it herself. For a moment, Tavon didn't speak. He just rested his elbows lightly on the table, keeping his voice low enough that no one else could hear. "I know you're confused," he said calmly. "But I need your help." Her mouth went dry. "Help with what?" He took a slow breath, his eyes scanning the hall again before turning back to her. The seriousness on his face made her stomach twist. "Someone leaked confidential documents from my company," he said softly. "Very sensitive information. And I'm sure the person responsible is here tonight." Adana blinked, stunned. At a wedding, among her own relatives and the groom's family. She leaned in without even thinking, her curiosity taking over her fear. "But why would they bring something like that here?" "Because they think I won't suspect anything," Tavon replied, keeping his tone steady. "This wedding has many powerful guests, business connections, people who want favors. A perfect place to hide behind celebration." Adana's mind spun. It felt like she had stepped out of her quiet, lonely seat and straight into a movie. "But why me?" she whispered. "You don't even know me." For the first time, Tavon actually paused and looked at her. Really looked at her. Not like the others who dismissed her. Not like the guests who walked past her like she didn't exist. His gaze was sharp, but there was something gentle hiding behind it. "Because you're the only authentic person in this room," he said simply. Adana felt her breath skip. No one had ever used a word like that for her. Authentic. Genuine. Worth trusting. He continued. "Everyone else is trying too hard. Smiling too much. Acting like they're auditioning for something. But you were just sitting alone, minding your own world. You weren't pretending." Her eyes softened. She wasn't used to being noticed. Not like this. "I don't want to make a scene," Tavon added. "If people know I'm investigating, the culprit will panic. I just need someone who can help me blend in. Someone who isn't already part of their drama." Adana swallowed hard. The loneliness she felt earlier now mixed with something new, a strange, nervous excitement. She still didn't fully understand why this billionaire CEO had walked straight to her corner table. But one thing was suddenly clear. For the first time in a long while, someone saw her. And not just saw her, trusted her. Adana was still trying to process everything he had told her when Tavon leaned a little closer, his voice calm but firm. "To keep people from getting suspicious," he said, "I need them to think we arrived together." Her heart nearly jumped out of her chest. Together. As in like, a couple. His lips curved into a tiny, almost playful smile. "Just for tonight. It'll make things easier. No one will question why we're talking." Before she could argue or overthink it, Tavon stood up and offered her his hand. A real gentleman's gesture. Confident, casual, but still respectful. Adana hesitated only a second before placing her hand in his. His touch was warm, steady, almost protective. As soon as they began walking toward the center of the hall, everything changed. The music continued, but the room went quiet. People turned. Brows lifted. Mouths dropped open. Guests whispered to each other like they had just witnessed a plot twist in a movie. Adana's relatives, the same ones who ignored her earlier, were staring so hard they looked frozen. One of her cousins actually dropped her fork. An aunt blinked repeatedly, like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Someone whispered, "Is that Tavon Kalechi holding Adana's hand?" She felt every stare, every shocked breath, every moment of disbelief. Her heart was pounding, not just because of Tavon beside her, but because she could practically feel the jealousy burning from people who had mocked her minutes ago. Tavon leaned slightly toward her as they walked. "Just stay calm," he murmured. "I'm right here." His confidence made her shoulders relax a little. For the first time that night, she didn't feel invisible. She felt seen, cared for, and part of something bigger than herself. But the moment that truly shook her was when they passed her gossiping aunt. The woman's eyes widened like she had seen a ghost. Tavon gave her a polite nod, still holding Adana's hand. The aunt actually gasped. Inside, Adana couldn't help the small, victorious spark that lit up her chest. All those whispers about her being too ordinary, all the time she was overlooked, suddenly flipped. She wasn't the lonely girl in the corner anymore. She was walking beside the most powerful man in the room, and he was the one holding on to her. As the evening continued, Tavon guided Adana gently through the hall, greeting people here and there, acting completely calm, as if he hadn't just told her he was hunting for a traitor. Adana tried to smile and play along, but her mind was still spinning from everything happening around her. At one point, Tavon excused himself to speak with the groom. Adana stood nearby, not wanting to look lost or awkward. She moved toward a quieter corner where the air felt cooler and the noise didn't hit so hard. That was when she heard it. Two voices, low, sharp and tense, coming from behind a decorative plant wall. She recognized one instantly. Tari, the groom's younger brother, the same guy who had been showing off and bragging all evening. The other voice was deeper. Chief Obika, a respected elder and close friend of the groom's family. Adana didn't mean to listen, but the words hit her like cold water. "Tari, the documents must be sold tonight," Chief Obika hissed. "The buyer from Dubai is waiting." "I know," Tari whispered urgently. "But Tavon showed up. Why would he even come? He never attends weddings like this." "That's why you need to act fast," Obika growled. "He cannot know you were the one who leaked the files. Once we get the payment, we disappear." Adana felt her stomach drop. Uri, the groom's own brother, selling Tavon's stolen documents to a foreign competitor. Her hands shook slightly as she stepped back, accidentally brushing against a chair. The sound was soft, but it startled them. Their whispers stopped immediately. Adana held her breath, staying perfectly still until their footsteps faded. She didn't wait another second. She moved quickly across the hall, weaving through tables until she found Tavon again. He was talking to a group of businessmen, but the moment he saw her expression, pale, anxious, determined, he excused himself without delay. "What happened?" he asked quietly, placing a hand on her arm to steady her. Adana took a shaky breath and told him everything she heard. Every word, every detail. Tari's voice, Chief Obika's warning, the foreign buyer, the plan to sell the stolen documents that very night. Tavon didn't interrupt. He didn't even blink. He just listened with complete focus, his eyes darkening with every sentence she spoke. When she finished, he exhaled slowly. "You heard all of that?" he asked, his voice low but full of something like admiration. She nodded nervously. "I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I couldn't ignore it." For a moment, Tavon just looked at her, really looked, and there was a spark of respect in his eyes she hadn't seen before. "Adana," he said softly, "you just helped me more than you know." And in that moment, she realized he wasn't just impressed. He trusted her even more now. Tavon took a moment to think, his jaw tightening as he processed everything Adana had told him. The betrayal, the plan, the timing, it all pointed to one thing: they had to act fast. He turned to her with the same calm determination he had shown all night. "I need your help again," he said quietly. "This time it's a little tricky." Adana's heart skipped. What do you want me to do? Tari has the proof on his phone, Tavon explained. Messages, documents, everything. I need a chance to get close enough to access it without raising suspicion. If you distract him, even for a few minutes, I can retrieve what I need. Adana swallowed hard. Distract Tari. The same Tari who walked around like he owned the whole wedding. The same guy who was planning to sell stolen documents. But the look in Tavon's eyes wasn't forceful. It was trusting. You can do this, he said softly. I wouldn't ask if I didn't believe in you. Something inside Adana straightened. She wasn't the lonely girl in the corner anymore. She was part of something important, something real. She nodded. Okay. Tell me what to do. Tavon gave her a quick, reassuring smile, then slipped into the crowd. Adana took a deep breath and walked toward the drinks table, where she had last seen Tari showing off his expensive watch to a group of guests. As she approached, he was still bragging loudly, completely full of himself. When he saw her coming, he raised an eyebrow, surprised. Adana, you okay? He asked, pretending to be friendly. She forced a shy smile, letting her voice sound soft and innocent. Actually, I wanted to ask for your help with something. Tari's ego lit up instantly. Oh, with what? She leaned closer, lowering her voice just enough to pull him in. I need advice. About someone. Just like that, Tari's attention snapped to her. He puffed his chest a little, acting like he was the king of romance. Ah, I knew it. Someone finally caught your eye, huh? Adana pretended to blush, letting her fingers play with the edge of her dress. Yes, but I don't know if he likes me back. You're good with people. Can you tell? Tari smirked proudly, completely falling into the trap. Of course. Tell me everything. While Tari talked non-stop about how he could read people better than anyone, Tavon slipped behind him, moving like a shadow. With a quick, practiced motion, he grabbed Tari's phone from the table behind him and accessed the messages. Adana kept talking, nodding, laughing softly when needed, surprising even herself with how smoothly she played the role. She didn't stumble. She didn't panic. She held Tari's focus perfectly. Then she saw it, Tavon's eyes meeting hers from behind Tari. He had the proof. A moment later, Tavon stepped forward, holding the phone in his hand. Tari turned and froze, his smile dying instantly. Looking for this, Tavon said, his voice dangerously calm. Tari's face drained of color. In that moment it was clear, Tavon had caught him red-handed, and Adana had been the key to making it happen. The hall was buzzing with chatter when Tari suddenly slammed his hand on a table, making everyone jump. You're lying, Tavon, he shouted, his face red and veins bulging. This is nonsense. I didn't do anything. Guests turned immediately, eyes wide, whispers spreading like wildfire. Some gasped, some murmured, trying to figure out what was happening. Adana's heart pounded in her chest. She stayed close to Tavon, feeling a mix of fear and determination. Tavon didn't flinch. He held the phone with calm authority, then pressed play. The recorded audio filled the hall, Tari and Chief Obika plotting to sell the stolen documents, their voices unmistakable. A heavy silence fell over the room. People froze, staring at Tari in disbelief. The confident, smug man who had strutted through the wedding just minutes ago now looked like a child caught doing something terrible. No, that's not possible, Tari shouted, but the audio continued to play, leaving no room for denial. His words fell flat against the evidence. Security quickly stepped in, gently but firmly escorting Tari toward the exit. He struggled for a moment, shouting accusations, but the staff didn't budge. Guests watched, some nodding, some whispering among themselves, all witnessing the downfall of the man who had thought he was untouchable. Adana's legs shook, but she stayed beside Tavon. Her hand brushed his arm slightly, and he gave her a reassuring glance. Pride swelled in her chest. She had played a part in catching the traitor. The whispers in the room shifted. This time people weren't mocking her. They were staring, some with admiration, some with a cautious respect. The same relatives who had ignored her earlier now looked at her differently, like she belonged in the spotlight, like she had power they hadn't noticed before. Tavant's calm presence beside her made her feel braver than ever. She straightened her shoulders, realizing that this night, the night she had arrived lonely and invisible, had completely changed. For the first time, Adana didn't just exist in the background. She stood in the middle of attention, shaking slightly but proud, knowing that she had earned it. And as she looked around the hall, she realized something important. She wasn't ordinary. Not tonight. Not ever again. After the chaos in the hall, Tavon gently took Adana's hand and led her outside to the terrace. The cool evening air brushed against her face, and for the first time all night, she could breathe without feeling the weight of everyone's stares. The sounds of music and chatter were muted here, replaced by the soft hum of the city lights and the occasional distant car horn. Weeks had passed since that unforgettable night, but the memory of the wedding still made Adana's chest tighten. In a good way this time. She had replayed every moment in her mind, the whispers, the stares, the chaos, and most of all, Tavant's calm, steady presence beside her. It all felt like a dream she never wanted to wake from. Her phone buzzed on the counter, and she picked it up, curious. The screen lit up with a message she didn't need to guess about. From Tavan K. "Are you free for dinner tonight?" Adana smiled so wide it hurt her cheeks. She could almost hear the echo of the ballroom, the way the lights had danced that night, the way she had felt nervous but alive, standing beside him while the world watched. She walked slowly to her bedroom mirror, her reflection soft in the evening light. Her hands rested lightly on the glass as she whispered to herself, a quiet laugh escaping her lips. Maybe I wasn't invisible after all. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel small, overlooked, or ordinary. That lonely seat at the wedding, the seat she had dreaded, the one she had thought marked her as unnoticed, had led to something entirely unexpected. Someone had seen her for who she really was, had trusted her, and had even asked her to stay in his life. Adana's heart fluttered at the thought. She straightened her shoulders, feeling lighter, braver. The world outside was still busy and loud, but she no longer felt like just a shadow in it. She felt present, seen, and extraordinary. With a soft sigh and a small, hopeful smile, she picked up her phone to reply. Tonight, she thought, would be the start of something new, and she was ready for it.